Welcome to this explainer. Today, we're going to break down a genuinely fascinating analysis from Nick Invests. We're looking at a massive, fundamental shift in how wealth works. And the craziest part? It doesn't happen when you hit $1 million. It actually happens at a surprisingly achievable number. It's a threshold that totally rewrites how you interact with your money, your career, and honestly, your future. So let's just get right into it. Think about it for a second. When you picture a wealthy person, who pops into your head? Is it a trust fund kid who's never even looked at a utility bill? Or maybe a millionaire lounging on a yacht? Most financial gurus will tell you that you absolutely need six figures or some massive lottery windfall to fundamentally transform your financial life. But honestly, that's just a myth. You do not need $1 million to flip the switch from struggling to thriving. There are these invisible financial barriers out there, and once you cross them, the entire rulebook just changes. Okay, let's dive into this. The true magic number? It's $20,000. This is the very first major, invisible threshold separating the people who successfully build wealth from the folks who get stuck living paycheck to paycheck for decades. It isn't just a cute milestone to celebrate, it's a literal game changer. Most people have absolutely no idea this threshold even exists. But once you hit it, everything you thought you knew about money gets completely turned on its head. To really wrap our heads around why, think of a massive boulder. If you've ever tried to push something incredibly heavy up a steep hill, you know that the beginning is just brutal. You're straining, you're sweating, you're fighting gravity with every single step and making barely any progress, right? Well, everything before $20,000 feels exactly like that. But once you crest that hill, once you finally hit that specific $20,000 mark, momentum finally kicks in. Gravity takes over, and that boulder actually starts rolling down the other side almost effortlessly. Let's move into Section 1, Escaping Survival Mode. So the true magic at this $20,000 threshold isn't really about the math in your bank account. It's about what happens inside your brain. When you have zero savings, your brain is locked in what psychologists call survival mode. Every single decision gets filtered through fear and scarcity. A broken laptop or a sudden car repair isn't just annoying, it's a full-blown financial apocalypse that eats up all your mental bandwidth. I mean, you literally cannot plan a future vacation when your house feels like it's on fire, right? But crossing that 20K line, that shifts you into growth mode. Suddenly, you aren't just reacting to daily threats. Your brain finally has the breathing room to be proactive. You create the mental space you need to actually spot and seize new opportunities. And the data backs this psychological shift up perfectly. Check out this research from Vanguard. Just having a tiny $2,000 buffer, which is less than a high-end laptop, creates a massive 21% boost in your overall financial well-being. It literally pulls you out of immediate danger. But when you push that emergency fund to cover 3 to 6 months of living expenses, which lands right around $20,000 for most people, you get another 13% boost. At this point, you're not just surviving anymore, you are primed and ready to start building. Which brings us to Section 2, the math of wealth. And this brilliantly illustrates exactly what happens next. Once your psychological foundation is set, the math just takes over, and the snowball effect is incredible to watch. Let's say you're saving $1,000 a month, getting an 8% return. Hitting that first $20,000 takes about 19 months of sheer grinding discipline. But the second $20,000, that only takes 17 months. You're putting in the exact same amount of effort, but your existing money is now doing the heavy lifting for you. Fast forward to when you have $400,000 invested, and generating your next 20 grand takes just 5 months. It happens almost entirely on autopilot. People often think wealthy folks have access to some secret, exclusive investment world. They really don't. Hitting $20,000 demystifies this whole concept. It's really just basic math scaling up. Think about it. A 10% return on $1,000 is just $100. It's nice, sure, but it's not changing your life. But a 10% return on $20,000, that is $2,000 of absolute profit. You are finally playing with amounts where the percentages yield life-changing absolute dollars. Your money is literally working a second job for you at this point. But here's the catch. Perhaps the most valuable asset you've gained isn't actually the 20 grand itself. It's the person you had to become to get there. Saving that kind of money fundamentally rewires your brain. You learned how to track every dollar. You learned how to say no to shiny, distracting objects. You maintained consistency over months, maybe even years, and you totally mastered delayed gratification. Basically, you proved to yourself that you control your money instead of letting it control you. And that is an absolutely invaluable life habit. This identity shift is what cures something we can call budgeting fatigue. Before you had 20 grand, you probably agonized over a $3 coffee or stood in the grocery aisle stressing over generic versus name brand cereal because every single dollar felt like life or death. But post 20K, you realize those micro decisions don't actually make or break your future. Instead, you liberate all that mental energy to focus on the big macro decisions, like optimizing your housing costs, strategic car purchases, and smart investments. You stop sweating the small stuff so you can finally start taking big swings. Let's dive into Section 3, Walking Away Money. This newfound freedom doesn't just sit idle in your bank account. It completely bleeds into your professional life. Think about the massive difference here. When you're living paycheck to paycheck, you're operating from a place of pure desperation. You're essentially trapped. You can't ask for a raise or push back against a toxic boss because you are terrified of getting fired. But with $20,000 in the bank, you suddenly have walking away money. You transition to a position of absolute strength. You can negotiate raises, you can confidently take time off to interview elsewhere, or you can just flat out walk away if a situation becomes unbearable. And here is the beautiful irony of the whole thing. You usually don't even have to use your walking away money. Just knowing it's sitting right there creates this massive positive feedback loop. First, your confidence shoots up. Second, because of that, you naturally become more assertive and willing to take risks at work. Third, management actually notices that energy, which leads to better assignments, more recognition, and eventually raises. And finally, that increased income leads to even faster wealth building. It's like a secret superpower that just dramatically speeds up your entire financial journey. But we have to talk about Section 4, the opportunity cost trap. Now, what's really interesting about this next part is that right when you unlock this superpower, danger strikes. It is so incredibly easy to justify a bad decision the second you feel flush with cash. You hit your goal, you feel super proud, and your brain goes, hey, I deserve a reward. Suddenly, that shiny $30,000 new car looks mighty tempting. The average person will drop $600 to $800 a month just on transportation, between the car payment, insurance, and gas, all while complaining that they simply can't afford to save for retirement. They trade their hard-earned foundation for an asset that drops in value the second you drive it off the lot. So the crucial point here is the true opportunity cost, a staggering $200,000. That $30,000 car isn't just costing you 30 grand. If you had taken that exact same monthly payment and invested it over a 20-year period, it could have easily grown into $200,000. Every single time you lock yourself into a massive monthly payment, you are actively destroying your future wealth. You're literally trading away your future freedom. Building a true wealth mindset means you have to look right past those flashy monthly payments. You have to start filtering every major decision, housing, cars, big vacations, through the lens of opportunity cost. You have to stop asking, can I afford the monthly payment? And start asking, what is this really costing my future self? Once you do that, driving a reliable older car stops feeling like an annoying sacrifice and starts feeling like a strategic, empowering choice that is literally funding your independence. And when you finally adopt this lens, something genuinely amazing happens. To quote the source analysis directly, you often realize you don't actually want half the stuff you thought you wanted. Look, this is not about being a penny-pinching miser who never has fun or enjoys life. Not at all. It's about becoming highly intentional with what you have. It's about finding profound peace in quietly building wealth rather than loudly trying to look wealthy to a bunch of strangers you don't even know. Which leaves us with this final, absolutely vital question. Are you reacting to your life or are you designing it? $20,000 isn't going to make you rich overnight, but it is the critical bridge between just surviving and actually thriving. It gives you the power to stop putting out daily fires and start designing the life you really want. So start building that foundation today and ask yourself, what other invisible financial thresholds are you about to cross without even realizing it?